Hello everyone, I'm Shiv Mathur again. I'm making this video after a long gap, and the topic is soul science. Trying to do an analysis. Some time back, I also made a video on soul, body, consciousness, and law of karma, where I was actually trying to segregate the body and the soul. How do we kind of do a segregation, because we say this we are not body, we are soul. But when we say we are soul, how do we identify soul? So people, this is like a general hearsay that everybody talks about soul and soul. But who they also say you cannot explain soul in words. Fine, then if you cannot explain soul and you have probably experienced it, there is a soul. So there's no rational clarity about what exactly is soul. So I thought maybe why not to try to do an analysis, try to see can we really quantify and try to understand it more scientifically and rationally. The people say in spirituality is beyond science, but spirituality is also science. And what is beyond our understanding and perception, we say that can be only experienced, but it can also be. We can also attempt to understand it, see how far can we reach. So, in an attempt to get into this understanding, and just an attempt, but I'm not saying that I will be able to understand it. How far can you reach in trying to, dissect this whole thing? So, you logically you try to have these kind of develop theories. So, I'm not that I'm trying to develop a theory. So, we will now look at soul. What exactly is soul? So, body is completely physical. Body has certain design and capability, and entire programming has been done in the brain. The brain is capable of being reprogrammed because there must be a base program, and there'll be a another program which can be reprogrammed, how the brain processes the inputs from the sensory organs, because there are two things in the body. One is the automatic functioning of all the internal systems which are happening automatically, though they can be disturbed by the other processing of the brain, which when it takes inputs, because we have stress, and the stress can lead to diseases. What is a disease? It's basically a malfunctioning which get caused by the stress, and stress is caused by thoughts, and thoughts are caused coming from the sensory organs. So there are two areas. So one is what we say voluntary, and one is involuntary. So the body is basically designed like that. And so if we look at this is the human science of operation. And if we are zero stress, if we are working perfectly, or I would say we are not malfunctioning, we are working, performing optimally, so we won't have stress, and the body will function the way it's supposed to function. But it's not happening. If you look around, it's not happening. People are under a lot of stress. Now there are many reasons for that, we will not get into that. So one is body function, and there is a inbuilt process in which this where we can release the stress or not allow the stress to be created, or we may unknowingly, ignorantly are allowing the stress to be created due to the way we are processing what we are seeing and feeling. What we are collecting from the sensory organs, and how we are reacting to it. That's completely based on the conditioning which we've gone through, and based on that conditioning we are constantly producing. But we have an intelligence too. Now where is that intelligence? Is that intelligence system the feedback system, the ability to take a decision, change the decision, that willpower? Is that willpower also some kind of process in the brain, or is it external to the brain? So now coming to, there is a brain which has got some processing, which is processing stress or no stress. It has some intelligence. It does it have intelligence, or now the intelligence, is this external to the brain or is it internal to the brain? I am not very sure. I will have to do some deep dive to really understand how the brain processes, because I have understood this science of thought generation and how you can recondition yourself, reprogram yourself, because we can take those decisions. We have to do a constant analysis to understand. So is this analysis is also part of the brain processing, which we can probably tap it and then make those changes. Then that ability to take decision, that discriminatory ability, is that also in the brain? Is that also part of a pattern or a conditioning, or is it a part of intelligence which is external to the brain? So this is the catch here. This is a catch that if we say there is an external intelligence, then we can say that there is what is external to this physical scientific body and the physical scientific controller brain, which is controlling all the other parts of the body. That's the main controller. It's sending all the commands, signals, and all the changes which it causes due to all the external stimuli. So if we go with this assumption that the intelligence is external, so then we can say, then we can use this word soul. Soul is just a word. We really don't know. We say Atma, we say soul. So we say consciousness. So consciousness is basically awareness. So awareness is also like intelligence, and the awareness. If there is a soul, then we should be our awareness should be towards the true self, which is the pure soul. But the awareness gradually shifts as we come into the world through the conditioning which we go through, what we learn, what we are exposed to. We develop ego in the beginning. When the ego comes, and then comes all other negative qualities emerge. We tap the negative qualities, and basically what is happening is the awareness from the true self is gradually shifting. When we are a child, we are aware about a true self, but due to the external influences, the social influences which we have to undergo, we are made to undergo, the awareness shifts towards external world, and along with that, parallelly, it's like a mutual shift in the qualities, which we tap into the negative qualities due to the various effects of maybe Kali Yuga or the social effects and the change in society, which is detrimental to the development of the human. Because of that, there is the shift of awareness. So we also say we are awareness. We are actually awareness. We are awareness means I have to be constantly aware about a true self, the true human qualities, and not shift our awareness to the external quality. So if we can do that, then we can be aware of our existence as a soul or a true self. Now this true self can be also without a soul, because that's how we are supposed to operate. But again, coming that true self is soul. So now what exactly is soul? Well, like if you say there is an intelligence in soul, that means is this intelligence also kind of a program or some kind of ability? How do you define that ability scientifically? Is it a program? Is it a process? Or there are some fixed instructions? How does that decision making comes? What makes that possible? So is it a process, or is it something? So this is something very complicated to understand, this decision making ability, because this probably cannot be mechanical as a part of the brain, but there is something which is already there as a originality of the human, this decision making ability which is probably now perceivable as of now to me. So this is something which is like, you can call it divine. I mean, when we say divine, we give it a mystical aspect to that, which cannot be explained. And why we say divine cannot be explained is because it's beyond our perception. In the dimensions which we exist, we cannot perceive everything, and we can kind of imagine or guess that there is something more beyond our perception, which we call divine or soul, or something which cannot be explained. But the whole problem thing is that all this is beyond our perception. We have a limitation of being in a certain dimension, and this is also a guess that there are more dimension, and it's a guess, and it may be possible because we, to accept that there is a limitation, we have some limitations. Obviously, everybody has a limitation. So this whole human body has been designed will obviously have some limitation. We understand how far we can see, how far we cannot. Like if you see with two eyes, I recently saw an experiment where with two eyes, if you're trying to see the object, it's moving and you can calculate the distance and you know where it is reached. But if you close one eye, you cannot actually correctly calculate. So basically there are two eyes, and two eyes gives different capability, and if you have only one eye, it will have limited capability. And imagine if we had third eye, another eye, three eye or four eyes, probably our ability to, the ability would have increased, the visual ability would have increased. So based on the kind of sensory organs we have been given, they are probably good enough for us to sustain in this world, on this planet. So we have not been given more sensors to increase our capability, because I think with these sensors we are trying to navigate in this complex world planet, and life still seems to be so complicated. Imagine if we add more complexities by having more perception ability, maybe it will make life more complicated. And I think probably we are already driven to the limits of our capability of stress and the complexities and the traumas and the challenges we face in the life. With these sensors are only all creating the entire thought process in the mind, and all the complexities in the mind, and all the negativities and the toxicity, whatever is happening in the world is all the outcome of all these sensors. So if so probably God created the universe. We got created with certain abilities and certain limitations, and there are reasons for all that. If you really understand these reasons, if you try to analyze the reasons. Now coming back to the soul, because we are probably not able to perceive the soul in this, with these sensory organs, with these perception capabilities which we have. Now there is always this logic that we can meditate and go into different dimensions. But people talk about, they call these experiences, like, people are talking about near-death experience, out-of-body experience, astral form. People talk a lot of, I won't say nonsense, but these are just experiences which people make their own definitions, and they have no rational way of understanding it. So even if you have that experience, but now when you come back, you just can't explain it. You say, no, I know it. I've heard somebody saying, I know there is a reincarnation. And then the interviewer was asking that lady, how do you say that? She says, I know it. But you can't go to interview and somebody asks you a question and you say, no, I know it. That's not the answer, because you know it doesn't mean that other will believe it. So do you have any rational? So point is that these experiences are actually or just experiences, and we are unable to really give any clear-cut definition and explanation rationally to really so that they can be universally accepted. So when you don't give a rational explanation, and people don't know the process to go there and even experience it themselves the way you experienced it, and you also don't know how can you again experience that. So that means there is a element of possibility and not a possibility, and there's you can't expect that people will, or everybody's going to accept what you say. So now here this is sketchy, this is all sketchy. This is not provable with any kind of but yeah, you can have some logical explanation. So even if you say I know it, you should give some kind of logical assessment, and without that, but just by saying that I know it, it doesn't make any sense. And because you can have imagination, so there's always a possibility that you imagine. Like people say, I saw this in my dream, and now dream is a dream. Why are you bothered about dream? You're not supposed to be living in what you see in the dream. So that's another state we are in while we sleep. That's a sleep state, dream state, sleep state. And when we are in awake state, that's where we are actually doing more analysis. We are not doing any analysis when we are in sleep state. We are only dreams, in my understanding, is a assimilation of different things. So when you see the dream is very concocted combination of different things we must have thought of in our wake state, and they all come together and they create a kind of a fiction. So dream is basically a fiction. So fiction, it's fiction, and some people start relating to that fiction as actually non-fiction, but dream is a fiction. Now coming back to the soul. So if suppose there is an intelligence in the soul, is now is soul is something which we cannot see. We don't know where is the soul, because we say it's not physical, because what we cannot see, we can only see what we are designed to see, or feel, or touch, or hear, which band we can hear, the audio band, or which spectrum which we can see, visual spectrum. Beyond that we cannot see, so we say it doesn't exist. But it may be existing physically, and what we see physically, what we can see physically, we say that's physical, and what we cannot see. So soul, whether it's really physical or non-physical, like for example chakras, people say there are chakras, but nobody could see the chakras till now. But they say I saw the chakra in my dream or whatever it is. I saw, but I mean didn't see it physically, but they saw it in the mind. They visualized it. So I would say not. I'm not using the imagination because it looked a little blunt, but I'm saying they visualized it. Now how they visualized is because somebody drew these chakras in the body, 7 chakras, and gave them colors. And when people starting seeing it, so when somebody drew it, then everybody else will be able to visualize it. And if you visualize it in your some kind of state, you will say, no, I saw the chakra, but that is not seeing the chakra. Can you show it to somebody else? If I see something, can I show it to somebody else also? Or it's only that. So I also heard somebody saying that I'm God gifted. So isn't this ego that you know something, you say you know something, and you are God gifted, so you are helping people. So you are actually living on a piece of ego and claiming something which you know, which may not be right, and you're trying to teach that. So a lot of people are doing irrational things. I would say they're very irrational. People are more emotional, and if you see, more of those people are emotional who are non-scientific, because they think irrationally. Because most of the people, please don't get offended, but most of the people who don't think scientifically, they think more emotionally, and then they have more of visualization, and they consider more of visualization and hearsay and what is written in the books without really understanding. They start believing that, and they don't want to make an effort to know that, and we just go by rat race of believing. And like I will give you an example. If somebody has written a book, so if you pick up a physics books, why do we believe it? Why do we accept it? Because there is a rational, the whole process, the whole solution. Like in the mathematics, a theorem has been explained, the calculations given, assumptions are given, logical assumptions are given, and based on that we come to a conclusion, and everything has been explained. So I can't say that it's written in the physics books, it's not correct, because the whole experiment has been explained there. And that's why we believe it and we accept it, and based on that science, whatever label it is, modern science, we develop gadgets and equipment, which work. So the whole thing has been explained. But now if you say there is a book, a fiction book or any kind of book, I would say these books are all fiction book. If there is a book and you say that there is a soul written in that book, so who wrote that book? Did he write the process how to understand that soul? So that those processes are not written. So I've been asking people that if you talk about those scriptures, and whoever wrote that in the scripture has not given the way to reach. Like if I read Yog Vasisht, which is a very interesting spiritual book, a conversation between Lord Ram and the sage Vasisht. So it's very clearly told that you have to only do self-inquiry, and through self-inquiry only you can get all the knowledge. So now self-inquiry is basically what people go into deep meditation, and that's a very logical way of finding out. But whatever through self-inquiry, even the sage Vasisht is telling, whatever if they're telling that is soul, but they have not written through self-inquiry how to do that self-inquiry, when to do it, how long to do it, and how will you deduce, what will be the process? Will there be a process, or it is all through visualization? So basically you are going to a different dimension, and through that dimension, and only people, if they can go into that dimension, they can only explain what it means, and they will have that conviction to explain. But the whole problem is that dimension can be explained only in that dimension. So if two people are in that dimension, probably they can understand that dimension. But unfortunately, we exist in a different dimension. So you can never be constantly in that dimension. Even if you go into that dimension, you come back to this dimension. So the moment you are in this dimension, you cannot understand. So the whole problem is that we don't have the ability to be in that dimension constantly. So that if 99.999% cannot go to that dimension, then the literally, as everybody is in this dimension, and if everybody is in this dimension, then where is the question about understanding what can be understood only in those dimensions? So I'm just giving a lot of corollaries and a lot of ifs and buts, different aspects to really understand, so that I can now make you understand what soul is. How deep can you go into understanding soul? So if soul has intelligence, and we also talk about karma, law of karma. I will not put in reincarnation here, because I want to talk about that also separately in a separate video. So when you are putting soul, and we talk about karma, so the karma records are being calculated. I spoke about that in my last video about karma calculation and the redemptions. So probably you can see that video. I don't want to repeat here because the video becomes very, very long. So now if you talk about this law of karma, records are also being maintained. Either they can be stored in the brain, but if they are stored in the brain, then the brain will die along with the body. So then the record will also go away. So from that perspective, and assuming there is a rebirth and there's a reincarnation, then in that scenario, the records cannot be stored in the brain. It has to be stored externally. So which can be soul, or can be a data center in a black hole, a data center for the planet Earth. So somewhere it is being stored there, or it is also stored in the soul, which is the end point. Now they also say soul are all connected and they are all one. They are not unique identity, but to have the record of karma, that soul is also having rebirth, suppose, going by reincarnation theory. So then the soul will have to be then unique, identified with that particular, it has to have that body. So it is basically identified with that body, and all the karma which this soul is being performed by this body is only going to be redeemed by this, through the soul only. So soul is basically, if you look, soul is sent to the planet for an earth experience. It's like soul is coming to the planet for an earth experience and ultimately going into a liberation. Now even liberation is a very complicated thing. I have analyzed this, and there's a lot of complexity here, and I will like to talk about that also. So if there is a reincarnation, and then obviously the record is being stored not in the human body, because human body perishes, and along with that the record will also perish. So it is externally stored. So probably the records of all your activity and redemption calculation, all is being done in all the records, and the intelligence, ability to decide, is all stored in a soul. Now, is soul something physical or something not physical? So this is very important to understand. We say formless. There's nothing called formless. What we cannot see, we call it formless, because we have a limitation to see due to what sensory organs we have been given. And these sensory organs have been given so that we can have an experience on earth. Because if we have more capability, probably the life will become very complicated, because with these sensory organs itself, there are a lot of complexities, and we are having many challenges in our survival on this planet. And these sensory organs are only the creation. Through this only we are getting all the complications and all the problems in life, because we are not aware of the true self, and we shift our awareness to the external world, and influenced by all the negative qualities which get tapped. Because when we drift from the true self, we are drifting because of the negative qualities like ego, selfishness, and lust and greed, and all those different negative qualities. Awareness shifts to the external world, and then because of these senses, all these sensory organs, and all the complications comes in the life. So imagine if there were more sensory capabilities and increasing our reach, life could have been even more complicated. So we have been given earth experience. These sensory organs are enough for us to have an earth experience. So we cannot visualize, think beyond this. So now what is beyond our visualization, beyond our perception, we call it different dimensions. And so the soul is something which is integrated with this body, but it's perceivable only in a different dimension. But it cannot be formless. Doesn't mean it doesn't have a physical form. There's nothing non-physical, because if you really see Einstein's equation easy to mc square, it gives a clear correlation between mass and energy. So this whole universe is energy, and for the energy to be there, omnipresent and flowing seamlessly all over the universe, there has to be matter. And if there is matter, that means there is a physical form. Even for light, we say that the light doesn't have mass. And when we talk about photons, and then we talk about space in the space outside the planet, and which is a vacuum. We say it doesn't have any medium. It's ether. But how can that be possible? The electromagnetic radiation from the stars, and different stars are coming. Light is coming, and light has got speed. So what can have speed? Something which has mass. Matter has speed. Matter can only have speed if there is no mass. This whole speed equation will fail. So if there is speed, the light has speed. The light is coming through star, and if there is light is coming through the sun, and it is traveling to the space, so there is matter. Now that matter is not perceivable. We are not able to perceive the light. We are not being able to measure the light. We only have luminosity, but luminosity is a very different way of understanding the light. Probably we have not understood how to capture the properties of light. And so what I'm trying to say, that there is matter. So soul also should be in a physical form which is not perceivable to us. And only if it is in physical form, then only it will have the capability of recording the data of karmas, and it will have other processes built in, the intelligence built in, which we call divine, whatever we call it divine, which is beyond our perception, we call it divine. So soul, frankly, is something which is not perceivable to us in the form it is. Form which it is because of being in a different dimension. What do you mean by different dimension? What is not perceivable? Is it? And I think also talking about reincarnation, I will like to also tell about reincarnation. That somebody asked this question, that if there is a reincarnation within only human life, then the sum total of souls should be constant, but the population is increasing. So if the population is increasing, then how can you prove that the reincarnation is moving from one life to another? The count is increasing. So is it between different forms? So that proves that the reincarnation must be happening in the different forms. But when we talk about liberation, when the final liberation will happen, that means all the different forms, all the vegetation, trees, animals will move into human form, and all at some point of time they will all cease to exist, and there will be only humans left. And at some point of time, even humans will liberate, so even human form will vanish. That means at some stage, the earth will become barren. It will be devoid of any of the species. And if you really see, there were dinosaurs, there were species which got extinct. So slowly, the species will start getting extinct and move into a more higher form. And finally, now this has some rationale. I will tell you why there's a rationale. Because at this given point of time, the earth has life, and at some point of time, the earth will not have life. So when that convergence happens, why will that convergence happen? Because time will come when the sun's intensity will become more, and the energy coming from the sun will not be conducive for life form. So the life form will shift to some other planet. Now why this shifting can happen? Because there is a theory of the star life. The star grows and the intensity grows. When the intensity grows for its solar system, the planets which it has, based on the intensity, the life form will exist at that period of time on that planet, which is conducive, that energy is conducive for the human life. As the intensity grows over a period of time, in a certain period, the life form will cease to exist, and it will be conducive on the next planet, which is next in the line of distance. And as the star reaches its top intensity in its life cycle, the furthest planet will probably be able to have life, And when the decay starts for the star, the intensity will start reducing, and the life form will again return one by one to the different planets. And with the death of the star, the whole solar system will cease to exist. And we don't know how the recycle will happen, but probably this may prove that reincarnation from different life forms will probably migrate to the higher forms within the planet, and ultimately the whole life form will probably vanish, and we can call it total liberation of the planet, of all the life forms, all the souls. But souls will still remain now. So souls will still remain because they are part of the main source of energy. So those souls will still remain, and they will probably shift to the different galaxies, different dimensions, and some different other solar system, or maybe some other dimensions, because we can only see solar systems. And if there are different dimensions, they must be living on some different plane and different kind of system, which we have no idea. So that's what it is. And I think I have explained soul, and now really to experience the soul and how it helps us in this life is something more important, because what we need to know is basically what is our true self. And to have that true self, understanding the true self, we relate to the soul, which is uniform and universal and equal. That's why we say that we talk about oneness and equality, and all the physical forms are actually manifested out of material science from this these basic elements we call 5 elements, but the basic elements of creation. So that's just very, very physical. But each physical form is a species, and as each species has some different purpose. But the whole idea is to live in harmony and have that beautiful experience on Earth. The whole idea is that if we are on this planet to have an Earth experience, so enjoy that experience, and you can only enjoy if you understand the true self, true nature, the true design of the human to exist and perform optimally on this Earth. So that's the only thing which we should be worried about by talking about something which is higher dimension. It's most of the people are actually just boosting their ego, and they are still living on an ego. And we need to break all these myths and beliefs and these narratives and the benchmarks. We create a benchmark and we get stuck with the benchmark. So we get stuck with this benchmark. We get also stuck with somebody's teaching, and we say that's ultimate. So and so yogi, so and so sage, so and so saint are ultimate. But we are, somebody is telling that this guy teaches the original teaching of so and so sage, so and so yogi. So what is original? Original is what you teach is original. You don't have to quote somebody. The originality is not belonging to any sage, or originality is very universal. It doesn't belong to anyone. So originality is, if you have understood the essence, that should be originality. Like what I'm teaching, I'm not attributing it to anyone, even not even to me. We all have that ability to analyze and realize the universal truth, universal science. And that's original, because if we do that self-inquiry, that will be original. But if we start associating ourselves, identifying ourselves with somebody's theorem in science without even doing our own research, then you are only like a parrot, but you're not doing your own effort and not finding it yourself. So they find there are many sages and yogis who have found it. You're also supposed to find it. It's not that they only find it and you only repeat it without knowing it, actually. So this is very important to understand. So when if somebody found it, we put them at a higher level and call them sage and yogi. You are also supposed to reach that level, and nobody can stop you from that. You have to go on that path, and it's not that we do a comparison. No, they were higher, and we cannot be that. So we are stuck with that. We have created a blockage. Actually, we create blocks by degrading ourselves, not understanding our potential, and not understanding the path. So even though sages are also telling you do self-inquiry, like Yoga Vasishtha, they're telling, everybody's telling self-inquiry. And in a lot of podcasts, people ask me, what is the message you want to give? I said, self-inquiry. So we have to find it ourselves. Okay, so when you find it yourself, that's original. And when you are quoting somebody else, You can tell people to read that book, no? Why you want to talk about it? Everybody can read that book, and they can have their own interpretation of that book. So it is making interpretation, learning from a book is very different from doing your own research and finding it yourself. So that is what is needed actually. Okay, thanks.